Andrew Turton and Pete Ceglinski, surfers making waves with their bins for the sea. Rows of yachts glinted in the sun as a speedboat chugged slowly out of the marina and towards the open sea. Andrew and Pete worked carefully on the edge of a pier. They were finally ready to test their new invention. Beneath them, litter floated on the oily water. Pete lowered their creation into the sea so it sat just below the surface and fixed it to a stand, while Andrew plugged the cable into a power point. Then they held their breath as Pete switched it on. Slowly, a crisp packet and a plastic bottle started to bob gently towards the opening of the device, before being pulled over the edge and sucked inside. Success! The friends high-fived and whooped with joy. It was June 2016, and Pete Ceglinski and Andrew Turton were on the Spanish island of Majorca in the Mediterranean Sea, testing their first sea bin, a rubbish bin designed to clean up litter from open water. Both were lifelong ocean lovers, having grown up on the coast of Australia. Andrew, whose nickname is Turtle, was a boat builder and especially loved fish sailing, often joined by his dog Sam. Pete enjoyed all water sports, but his main passion in life was surfing. He had become a boat builder after giving up a career designing things that were thrown away rather than repaired. They met when they were working for different yacht racing teams, traveling around the world and visiting beautiful places. But over the years, both had noticed the ocean was becoming more and more polluted. Whether they were surfing amongst plastic bags off a tropical island or sailing into exotic ports full of litter, plastic was everywhere they went. Ocean plastic pollution is a huge global issue. It's estimated that about 10 to 20 million tons is washed into our seas every year. Large quantities have collected, forming the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, an area of plastic and rubbish twice the size of France, floating between the USA and Hawaii. It has been found at the deepest point of the ocean, the Mariana Trench, in 10 kilometers below the surface of the Pacific Ocean. It is a devastating problem, killing and harming marine life, and if the leakage of plastic into the environment is not stopped. By 2050, the ocean will contain more plastic than fish by weight. Much of this pollution is microplastic, tiny plastic fragments less than 5 millimeters in size, and plastic microfibers, which come off clothing when we wash it. These are eaten by marine life and by humans in turn when we eat fish and shellfish. As part of his job, Andrew had to clean the outside of yachts, but this was difficult in marinas full of oily water and debris. One day in 2011, while working on a yacht in Los Angeles, he suddenly had a brainwave. If you can have rubbish bins on land, then why not have them in water? Over the months that followed, he tested his idea using a plastic bin, glue, duct tape, and a pump. His device worked, so he took it with him to marinas around the world. In 2013, after meeting Pete, he told him about his invention and asked if he could help turn it into something that could be sold. Pete was excited and started thinking of how it might work. Soon he had a design for a bin which sat just below the surface of the water, sucking water and floating rubbish into its opening. The rubbish would be collected in a catch bag, while the clean water would be pumped out of the bottom. It would be powered by electricity and, just like a rubbish bin, emptied when full. They would start by making these for the calm waters of marinas, ports, and harbors, where they often saw lots of litter. Pete and Andrew called their invention the sea bin. By 2015, Pete had given up his job to focus on developing the technology that would turn their idea into a reality. Meanwhile, Andrew decided to step back from the project to concentrate on boat building, although he continued to help out. The pair had been working in Majorca, so Pete stayed on and converted an old warehouse into a workshop, buying machinery and tools to make the first sea bins, called prototypes, to test out his ideas. While everyone agreed that cleaning up the oceans was hugely important, some people who had heard of the invention were worried that the sea bins might suck in and kill ocean life. To ensure this would not happen, Pete hired a marine biologist and a surfer, Sergio, to help with the design, as well as 2 other office staff, Paula and Sasha, to help run the company. First, Pete shrank his design and made a mini sea bin in plastic using a 3D printer. He added a mini pump and installed the device in a fish tank for testing. Once they were sure this worked, the team made a full-sized version. To save money, Pete learned how to weld metal by watching videos and built an old sewing machine to stitch his own catch bags from natural fiber. He kept improving the design, reducing the number of parts so that the sea bin could be produced easily in a factory. It felt like the perfect job, using his skills to create something that would help protect the ocean he loved. And living by the sea meant he could go surfing in his breaks. But by the end of that year, the team had completely run out of money. As they didn't want to accept funding from companies that were often contributing to the pollution problem, they decided to try to crowdfund enough money to keep their sea bin dream alive by asking online for donations from people who liked their idea. They needed to raise $250,000. They made a video, and soon their sponsorship request went viral, with thousands, then millions of viewers. Slowly, their fundraising total crept up, but less than a week before the end of the campaign, they were still $100,000 short. If they didn't hit their target, they wouldn't get any of the money that had been offered. Pete barely slept as he spent night and day contacting anyone who might possibly help. His hard work paid off. On the last day, they smashed their target, raising $267,000. They were proud that it was ordinary people, mums, dads, and kids, who were giving them the chance to make the sea bin a reality. There was much work to do to complete the working prototype, while also responding to hundreds of emails a day from people who had heard about the sea bin and wanted to buy one. But the hardest thing for barefoot, t-shirt, and shorts-wearing surfer Pete was learning how to be a businessman. He often felt he was asking silly questions during meetings with companies who were interested in making their product, and sometimes even had to look things up on his phone to understand what they were saying. Happily, though, in March 2016, they struck a deal with a French company, Puralu Marine, to make the sea bins. In June 2016, the first working sea bin was installed in Majorca, and over the following months, the team traveled across Europe to set up sea bins in 6 pilot locations. These were marinas and ports that wanted to be the first to have sea bins and agreed to help test them. By November 2017, the testing was complete and the team were ready to sell their invention to a long waiting list of customers from all over the world. Each device can collect up to 20 kilograms of waste a day, which means it can remove up to 90,000 plastic bags or 37,500 disposable cups or 16,500 plastic bottles from the water every year. Today there are over 260 sea bins in more than 42 countries, each collecting on average 3 kilograms of waste a day. This is a lot of rubbish, especially when you consider that the most common items are lightweight, cigarette butts, small bits of plastic, and food wrappers. In total, that nearly 2 tons of waste collected each day from the sea. The strangest thing Pete has ever seen caught in a sea bin is a cowboy boot with a mini pineapple inside. And once he found a $20 note. While sea bins benefit everyone by helping to clean our oceans, they're expensive to make and coat, and cost around 3,500 pounds each to buy. However, there are many communities joining together to pay for them. The Port of Dublin in Ireland got its first sea bin in 2018 after 11-year-old Flossie Donnelly raised money by holding a disco, a quiz, and a crowdfunding campaign. The Seabin team were so impressed with her efforts that they gave her 2. In early 2019, 13-year-old surfer Archie Mandan raised nearly $20,000 to pay for the first Seabins in the marinas near his home in Pittwater, Australia. Pete continues to improve the Seabin design. As well as larger items, it can now filter out oil and microplastics more than 2 millimeters in size. He wants future Seabins to be able to trap microfibers too. The team hope that in future it will be possible to recycle the plastic their Seabins collect to make new Seabins. And they aim to have Seabins in the open ocean by 2027. Pete and Andrew knew that Seabins aren't the answer to the ocean plastic problem. The real solution is education. For this reason, they put half the money that they make into a charity called the Seabin Foundation, which teaches children about reducing plastic use, recycling, and using science, technology, and maths to invent new things to tackle environmental problems. They feel positive about the future because they see signs of change. Shoppers refusing plastic bags, people carrying reusable coffee cups, and children teaching their parents about the dangers of plastic to ocean life. With a young son of his own, Pete is more determined than ever to leave the oceans cleaner for future generations. Meanwhile, Andrew's niece, Portsea Turton, who was studying marine science at college, is also a youth ambassador for Seabins and a member of the World Oceans Day Youth Advisory Council. With the future in the hands of young people like her, perhaps Andrew and Pete will one day see their dreams come true. A world where the ocean is free of plastic and we no longer need Seabins. They will happily get back to surfing and sailing the oceans instead of cleaning them. Goodbye.